As a girl, I was told I could never be powerful. As a girl, I was never expected to stand up for what I believe in. As a girl, I was never expected to push beyond my limitations. As a girl, I was told I could never be successful on my own. As a girl, I was told I would always be dependent on someone else. As a woman, I am powerful and I can move mountains.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. You seem to have got through the first video, which means you probably might like this one. But if you guys don't know, this is KY, not Kai the Creative, and today we're going to talk about something that might be a mistake, might not be a mistake, but we'll get into it. So, like I mentioned before in a previous video, I've been a content creator for the last 2-ish years. I usually work in the fitness space, and I've owned a lot of cameras. I originally started off as a Sony shooter. When I first started my career, I was actually using the Sony a6000. I upgraded to the a6300, and by the time I had gone full-time between March 2018 and September 2018, I was a proud owner of the Sony a7 III. It was a camera that I had pre-ordered when it came out, and I got it in September, and I was using that as my main driver for photography and for video. Going down the line, getting the different types of jobs, doing photo shoots and doing videos and things like that as well, I ended up picking up the a7 R3, I ended up picking a couple drones, and that was my major workflow. Essentially what ended up happening is, because of this whole pandemic, I had to reevaluate kind of what I wanted to keep in my kit. And what ended up happening was, I got rid of the Sony lineup entirely. I had the Sony a7 III, a7 R3, I had a couple lenses for each, I had a drone at one point, I had a smaller gimbal and things like that. But based on this pandemic, I just decided, you know what, let me get rid of all of that, because I want to start getting into owning cinema cameras and maybe have something that I can vlog with, like the camera I'm using right now, the Canon EOS R. And the reason why I decided to switch from Sony to Canon was because the adapter for the camera that I did have, which was the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 4K, which was something that I used for the majority of between that April till a couple weeks ago when I got a new camera. The reason why you want to use a Blackmagic, because it was a nice entry-level camera. It still shot 4K 60, it still shot in RAW, it had great colors, great low light. With the adapter, it looks very close to the 6K while costing the same amount of price, but the adapter also connected to Canon lenses. Now, I didn't want to have two sets of lenses, so I ended up switching everything over into Canon, where now I have the EOS R. But today, and actually a couple weeks ago, I actually sold the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. I still recommend that to be your best entry into the cinema market, but there was some things that I wasn't too crazy about, and as somebody that's usually a solo DP, I don't really have someone pulling focus for me. A lot of the times I'm shooting by myself. I needed something that could accommodate my needs as someone who makes videos pretty much by themselves majority of the time. Now, I understand that the Canon R5 has come out, the Canon R6 has come out, the Sony a7 III just dropped. Even the Canon C70, which I wish I could tell you this was what the video was about. I wish I could tell you that I picked up the Canon C70, the new cinema camera that just dropped, and I think it's an amazing camera. I think it's a great camera for the price that it is. You're gonna get 4K 120, you got ProRes, you can have an adapter with a speed booster. It's gonna give you everything that you're gonna want into a cinema camera, but I picked up something that might be a mistake, might not be, but I'm pretty happy with the results so far. And I'm gonna show you what this camera is. You guys probably are familiar with it. It's been out for a little while, but let's talk about it. All right, so the camera I picked up was this guy right here. So this is actually the Canon C200. Now, this camera dropped in 2017, and there's a couple reasons why I got this camera. For one, because the Canon C70 came out, the actual C200, and especially in the used market, became a heck of a lot cheaper. Here in Canada, if I had to buy the Canon C70, which hasn't even came out yet, and I had to buy the adapter as well with it, you're looking at upwards of about $8,000. Now, I was able to pick up this Canon C200 for a little bit over half of that amount. So to still be able to get the Canon RAW light, 4K 60, 4K 24 frames a second, the built-in NDs, all the things that you guys know that come with the Canon C200, I was able to get at a fraction of the cost. So that was a great entry into the market for me. Another reason why I got it is it offered a couple of ergonomic things and a couple of differences that the Pocket 4K didn't have. Like I mentioned before, it has built-in NDs. The dual pixel autofocus in there, because I'm filming by myself, is handy when you need it. I don't use it all the time, but it's super handy when I need it. And the colors, you guys know about Canon colors, Canon color science, it's amazing. It's a really good color space. You guys already know about Canon and stuff like that, but I really like the ability to go into post and not have to stress that much about color correcting and stuff like that. So that's why I decided I was gonna go with the C200. Now, the big question is, did I make a mistake not getting the C200 and not getting the C70? And I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say I don't think I made a mistake getting the Canon C200 over the C70. I do know that the C70, it's newer technology, it's gonna have a better, sharper sensor. It's gonna have a lot of things that new filmmakers are getting into cinema are gonna really, really like. But what I like about the Canon C200 is, one, the price is super attractive. Two, because I've gone from the Blackmagic, I actually really do like the raw workflow. I like to be able to push and pull colors and contrast and things like that, though I'm still getting used to it, though there are still exposure issues that I have to figure out because it's a little bit new doing on the C200. Those are things that I like a lot, and I kind of enjoy that workflow. The second thing that I realized is that because it's a little bit smaller, it's a bit more compact, and it's even on both sides. Now, the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, if you've ever seen it or you owned it, it kind of sways on this side. Like, there's a bit more camera on this side, and I know it's really nitpicky, but when you're balancing it to a gimbal, it just becomes a nightmare. You have to move everything over to one side. Sometimes it isn't balanced properly. And I have the Zhiyun Crane 3S, which I still haven't cracked open yet. We'll talk about that later. But I have that gimbal and I want to start using it in my workflow. And with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, it just became a hassle to have to set it up all the time, especially when everything's off to one side. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is it looks good. It works really well right out of the box. You don't have to buy a lot of things to rig it up. Next thing I want to talk about is it looks really good right out of camera. I can pick out the next thing I want to talk about is it looks really good right out of the box. I could pull out this box, as long as I have a CFast card, a battery, and a monitor that comes with it. It actually comes with the monitor. I can start using that thing right away. I could put a lens on it and I can start using it right away. And in fact, the first couple of projects I did, I used it as it came out of the box. I just put my CFast card and I got it started. I don't have to spend a ton of extra money rigging it out and kitting it out to do the things that I want it to do. You can if you'd like to, but right out the gate, it's a very usable camera that is there for you. Another reason why I got the C200, I don't think it's a mistake that I didn't get the C70, was just keeping all the glass and things like that consistent. I don't own currently any RF glass, especially when I have the EOS R. I have it adapted to all the EF mount lenses that I have. I didn't really see a need to have a camera that was particularly a R mount to begin with, that you had to adapt into getting new lenses and things like that, or using the old lens that you had. Now, what I mentioned before is the used market is a great resource to pick up cameras that are a little bit older but still have the image quality and all the things that you want to work and create really good images and create really good video and really good content. I want to be able to still use that used market. Now, there's not a lot of RF glass around in Toronto right now, but there's a ton of EF glass. So I figured with the C200 that's already a native E mount or EF mount, you're actually going to be able to use some of the cheaper glass. You're not going to have to spend a ton of money to have this thing looking really good. I could still pick up a 24 to 70 for reasonably cheap, a 7200 if I want to. Right now I'm shooting on the Sigma 24, which I picked up aftermarket a little bit, 30% off, we'll say close to that, off of what it retails for. So being able to pick up some really good EF glass in the aftermarket on a camera that has a native EF mount was super beneficial. Now, that's not to say there isn't an adapter for the C70. It actually does have a really good adapter. They have a speed booster with it as well. But I kind of like not having to attach a bunch of adapters and things, because I have done that with the Blackmagic camera, and for my eye and just for my preferences, sometimes it always doesn't look the best versus if you just had it native to the mount. And the last reason why I don't think I made a mistake getting the C200 instead of the C70 is because I think in the back of my mind, I think something else is going to come out in that market. I think with the C70, they're trying to see what people are responding to, or they're trying to see what the consumers are saying in regards to the C70. They just came out with the C100 Mark III and the C500, which are both EF mount cameras. So what it sounds like they're doing, what it looks like they're doing, is they're slowly transitioning to RF mount cinema cameras. Now, what I will watch out for is the next step up from the C70, which I heard was going to be called the C50 or whatever they're going to call it, because I think that's going to be the big game changer in terms of cinema cameras. But to be honest, right now, I'm really happy with the results that I'm getting on the C200, and I'm also really happy that I didn't have to spend that much money. But that all being said, this is my little gear talk in terms of what I picked up, what I'm going to be using for the videos you're going to see on this channel. If you want to see more, if you like what you're watching, go check my Instagram out. There's some BTS stuff, there's my photography work that's on there as well. And if you want to see more videos about the stuff I'm talking about now, because I'm going to be here sharing tips, tutorials, stuff about gear like this video right now, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, and turn in for more videos. I'm gonna try to come out with 2 of these a week, and this is the second one. So this has been KY Not Kai the Creative, and I will see you guys later.